Good morning from sacred space at Titania's realm. It's 9:10 a.m. on the 1st of December 2024. Well, you know what that means. Christmas and Hanukkah are coming, and it's the silly season. It's the end of the year winding down. Everyone's going to be out drinking and partying and coping with their inherent traumas in the most extraordinary and bizarre ways. And stay safe out there, people. There's lots of spending of money and spoiling of children and each other, if you have a family, that is. And eating the good food in excess and drinking the good drinky poos, sometimes in excess, depending on your want. And I can't believe it's already December, quite frankly. The year has flown past. Has it not, Charlie? She says, I don't know. What's a year? It's 365 days twirling around the sun. Is that the thing that makes the trees grow, Mama? Yes, it makes you grow and me grow. Sometimes too much of it gives you skin cancer, which sucks. Which reminds me I have to still get that checkup undertaken. I'm 2 months late, actually nearly 3 months late now. Oops. Naughty, naughty, naughty. I haven't got any new things, just these things on my forehead that I've been treating with castor oil, but I think they're going to have to be, something will have to be done to them because they're not going away. But I don't think they're cancers, I don't know what they are. Anyway, it's all very annoying. It's very annoying being alive sometimes. All these little irksome little health issues that will crop up from time to time. Crop up or crop up? Crop up. Anyway. I stopped breathing 5.8 times during the night and I slept for 9 hours because I was utterly exhausted. I've noticed the nights when I sleep longer and I'm exhausted, I breathe less often. So there seems to be a pattern there. It's interesting, kind of interesting, in an academic way. But obviously, you know, I haven't died from untreated sleep apnea, which was not treated for 21 years, and probably not going to die from the CPAP treatment, although it's messing me around. My nose is a mess, my cheeks are a mess, and some nights like last night, it's hardly worth the effort. But still 5.8 times of not breathing is still better than 11, so it is an improvement, sort of, kind of. I tell you one aspect that I'm enjoying about it though, is because it's got a built-in humidifier. You know, now that it's the hotter months, getting hotter at night, the air intake just feels gentler and softer and sweeter somehow than it normally feels when you're just breathing raw air in a hot bedroom. Which reminds me I need to go and buy a fan because it's starting to heat up. I need 2 fans actually, one for Charlie's room and one for mine. So I have to get onto that because the heat will start intensifying now we're into the beginning of December. Though it's quite, it's not cool today, it's 26 degrees, but it's kind of overcast and grey and miserable looking and blah. I feel great today. I posted that on my Instagram, how great I feel. Astonishingly feel great. I can take on the world, babies. Maybe I will, but then by the time the great feeling passes, you know, in a few hours I'll probably feel exhausted again. So I never know. I never know how I'm going to feel. So I just go with the flow. And that's how I've lived my life for the last 59 and a half years. Where did that poo go, Charlie? Went on the carpet. That's nice. You don't want poos on the carpet, Charlie. 59 and a half years of doing this. Can we say fucking champion? Pushed myself through the most unbelievable things. Don't ask me how I did it. I'll blame it. I won't blame it. I'll express gratitude to the gods. Because without them, I would not be here, quite frankly. And is it good or is it bad? I'll let you know in another 10, 15 years' time, should I continue to surpass my own expectations that much longer. Oh dear goddess. In 15 years' time, I'll be almost 75. That's a astonishing thought. Well, my mother lived to 83, which is also astonishing given her background, surviving Nazi Germany, the war in Germany, and her brutal mother, and various brutal husbands as well. Let's be fair here, she was an arsehole, but she was also very badly brutalised. And my father lived 3 days shy of 89, so there's longevity in the family, but to be fair, my father ate very healthy, unlike my own silly, recalcitrant, naughty self. He was into health kits like intermittent fasting, which is very good for you and works. Obviously worked for him. Dragged his sorry ass through for almost 89 years. And yeah. Anyway, I don't really want to talk about those people because, like, apart from the academic thing about the longevity thing, I've got no real interest in them. They brought nothing but misery to my life. So instead of dwelling in that, let us focus on the beauty and the magic and the wonder, which is, even though it's a grey, overcast day, we have the sun peeping through, and it's coming through in this kind of radiant light, like when you put a pot in a stove and the element starts to glow from inside, you know, just the old electric radiance when they just start to glow. It's kind of like that, but not, because it's a different light. But I think you know what I mean. Do I know what I mean? That is the important thing. You have to laugh. Alright, so let us continue with the second voyage of Sinbad the Sailor. Charlie, all over the place. Can you just sit still or do something that doesn't involve half hanging off my arm and half reaching for the printer? She's going for the printer. She's made a decision. Right, you happy now? Good. It's like having a child sometimes. Dear goddess. No. Yes, I know. No, oh my brother, that I was living a most comfortable and enjoyable life in all solace and delight, which is the only kind of life to live. Lots of solace and delight, surrounded by your beautiful friends and or family and your lover or your partner, and every day's a magic and a delight when you have great loves in your life. Just saying. As I told you yesterday, Sinbad's relating, until my mind became possessed with the thought of travelling around the world of men and seeing their cities and islands, and a longing seized me to traffic and to make money by trade. Upon this resolve, I took a great store of cash. Ooh, cash. Mama loves cash. Don't have any, but when I do, I pay cash. A great believer in the flow of money being under your own domain and not some governments. Just saying. I still remember the terrible trauma my mother went through when we were on board the first Star sailing to Europe to go to Germany for her first trip back home to her native country since she migrated to New Zealand in 1956. This was in 1973 and there was some kind of financial crash happening at that time. So every port she had, I think she had, she started off, she had American dollars. And the money that we had, or she had, her money, in American dollars lost its value. By the time we got to South Africa, it had lost its value again. Literally her holiday money was frittered away by this financial crisis that was happening at the time. So, because she would tell me about it, but it means nothing to a little girl who's just turned 8 on the voyage going over there. So it meant nothing to me, of course. But she'd be tearing at her hair going, Tanya, the dollar, we've lost money again, I'm going to run out of money. And she was really fucking panicking. And I just prosaically shrugged my shoulders because, money, that kind of situation is, makes no sense to a child's mind. It doesn't mean anything. Might as well be talking about tooth fairies and I don't know, some other nonsensical thing. So anyway, but I remember every port we went to, she was swapping currency over, and finally she settled with great relief on Swiss marks, which held their value at that point in time. So she managed to retrieve some money by the time we got to Germany, but she had to get a job and go to work. Can you believe that? On her one holiday home, she kind of ran out of money, so she had a job for a few months in Germany. She was actually astonished that anyone gave her a job, and it was an office job, and they loved her. I think, well, my mother was very extroverted and ebullient and, charismatic, and people always loved my mother. They didn't know that she was an arsehole at home, street angel, home devil, and that people would just worship her almost like a goddess. It was astonishing. And I think she was a real, I'm talking about that bitch again, aren't I? Why is that? I didn't want to talk about her today. But anyway, I'll finish this segue. I think it was because in 1973, because she spoke fluent English, because she'd been living in New Zealand, married to my father and the airman, the first airman she married to get over there. But anyway, and so she was very useful in the office because she could read and translate into English, and she was just so out there and glamorous and in your face, and she was a novelty because no one at that time had hardly even heard of little old New Zealand. In fact, when I went to school, the teacher had to show all my classmates on the map where New Zealand was because they kept telling me that I was a liar and that there was no such thing as New Zealand, and I really was an alien and came from Mars. And what did I do with my other 2 heads, and how did I manage to look human? But me being brought up with the occult actually loved that. I'd play on it, go, yeah, I'm actually a little green man inside, and if you open me up, I'll just explode everywhere. And they would just be like, because people are mean to me, I just sometimes go with the flow. I don't give a fuck. I had a lifetime of bullying, so a lot of it used to roll off my back, and occasionally there'd be fisticuffs. I never started a fight in my goddamn whole natural life, but I finished every motherfucking one. Always, even now in this late stage of my life. You start me, and you carry it on for long enough, there will be consequences. But anyway, those kids in Germany kind of liked me too because, again, a novelty. And I was put in a class with kids who were 3 or 4 years older because that teacher was the only one that could speak any English. Didn't do a lot in that class actually because it was all German and I didn't know what was going on, so I just did my correspondence schooling and she would just check that I was doing and supervise me a bit. She was a very nice woman, that teacher. The way she showed them New Zealand on the map with real Germanic, made them all look stupid actually, and she did it with such a flourish. Here is the atlas of the world. She pulled it down and she got this long cane and she said, that is New Zealand, named after Zealand by Abel Tasman. She even knew the history. And that the kids were like, and she says, and yes, in the old days, the sailors thought if you went to the other end of the world, you would fall off. And on maps they would say, there be dragons there, meaning it was a danger zone. And she said, but really it is just the opposite side of our planet, the southern hemisphere. But then she would point to Antarctica and say, look how close New Zealand is to Antarctica. It must be very cold in your country. And I nodded and we would laugh, you know. She was a lovely woman. But anyway, my mother had that job for a couple of months. And she also found time, as I've said in another video, to go to Paris and lost a handbag in Paris and went to the police station because hoping that it was handed in, and there sat a very nice Frenchman with her handbag handing it in. So she and him conducted a rip-roaring affair. That was my mother. That was my mother. That was my mother. And my sister was very prudish and conservative and decent, you know, how one should aspire to be, really. And she was outraged. She spent many a day railing at me as if it was somehow my fault, the child. Your mother's fucked off to Paris and is having an affair with a Frenchman. Why did I need to know about all this when I'm 8 years old, feeling traumatised in a strange country, shoveled into school? It's meant to be a holiday, shoveled into school, abandoned by my mother, and then have my sister constantly remind me that I've been abandoned and left to her spurious care. Oh, dear goddess. And I remember thinking, why am I surrounded by these? I didn't, you know, that saying, why am I surrounded by fucking idiots, came out, I think, in the 80s. But it was the equivalent of that. I remember thinking, why am I surrounded by these really awful people that are my bloodlines, that basically don't like me and find every opportunity to make me feel somehow responsible for my very existence, like I'm some kind of punishment on them and I'm a nuisance and a burden and I'm in their way. That's how they consistently made me feel. It didn't make for a happy childhood. Just the emotional, you know, the emotional neglect and abandonment alone. But anyway, my mother comes back from, you know, Paris, glowing, looking fabulous, all juiced up because she's had the most fabulous sexual, soul-nourishing affair with a romantic Frenchman. And I remember looking at her thinking, why does Mummy look so good? There's something different about Mummy. Oh, that must be what an affair does for a mummy. And I'm just looking at her, and my sister's like, look at you, you're a disgrace. And my mother's like, oh, you're not, darling. I had the most fabulous time in Paris. Who would have thought Paris, the city of love, would work so well for this little German? And I'm looking at her. My mother knew how to wind everybody up. I kind of developed some of her skills in late stage of life too. Anyway, it was kind of funny. My sister was like, oh God, oh my God, I'm taking Marika and I'm going down to the market to get away from Mum. And I was like, can I come? Yes. We
we all went off to the market to avoid my mother, who was, in full femme fatale vitality and passion. Oh, bless the little cotton socks and She separated from my father on the day we boarded ship because my father went completely berserk, smashed a window in the bathroom, and I boarded that ship in a deeply traumatised state because I knew that was the living end. So it was a voyage from hell and a highway to heaven. There were lots of lessons on that voyage to Germany in 1973, and one of the things was about how money is meaningless and it can change overnight and lose its value, and pay cash people, but even then it can lose its value. So collect gold, people, if you have enough money to stockpile gold. But money is an energy, comes and goes like the tides, and if you leave it in the hands of tyrants and billionaires, we the great unwashed, the great proletariat, the great misbegotten masses get less and less of it, and they get more and more of it off of our backs and off of our vaccine injuries as well. You evil, dirty cunts. Just saying. So yes, pay cash. It's the ultimate rebellion. That was the moral of my story, but it took me a while to get there. Babies. It is what it is. So, I wonder. How old was my mother when we were in Germany in 1973? She's 38 years older than me. 46. No, is that right? 16. 8, no, 16. 46. She did alright, my old girl, as far as men and sexuality went, but then she was a bit loose in the caboose when it came down to it. She used to act like she was, a lady and high quality, but, she was a passionate woman, let's just put it lightly. So she had no trouble drawing men in, and she didn't draw in very nice men overall. She didn't have luck with men. I sometimes wonder if it's a family curse. But then on the other hand, my conservative, very vicious sister managed to stay in her marriage. She married when she was 20, and she'd be, how old am I now? She'd be 74 going on 75 now. 55-year marriage. Impressive. Boring as fuck, but impressive. So, but she needed stability after her horrific her childhood was actually even more horrific than mine, because she claims that my mother actually actively starved her and would forget to feed her and was so off her head after migrating to New Zealand. My mother had some kind of breakdown, and she put my sister in a Polish Catholic orphanage. My sister turned her face to the wall and nearly starved herself to death, quite deliberately, in that home as a child. That's how bad it was. So the nuns actually begged my mother to take her back and said, a mother is better than no mother, and your daughter's not coping, and she's not technically an orphan, so you need to take responsibility and woman up. Very Polish mentality. And my mother did take her back, but she didn't actually woman up. She was too focused on going to work and making money. So she abandoned my sister and didn't feed her properly. It was not cool what happened to my sister. So there are certain things that I can forgive, that I understand. Her brain wiring is like mine, distorted. But there are certain things that are unforgivable because She was a teenager when I was born, and a young adult woman when the predation started on me when I was 6. She could have done a lot to prevent that, given she knew what the perpetrator was capable of and knew her own history. So I find that unforgivable, actually. But, trauma does weird things to people. It can make them cruel and sadistic and cold and unempathic, and have people abdicate their role and actually be fucking arrant cowards and not defend or protect the innocent. And then it can make them, like me, think that I somehow need to be a warrior goddess and the protector archetype of others, which also sometimes puts me into danger situations. And it's a double-edged sword either way. But at least I can lie in bed at night straight and know that I'm not a coward and that I have courage and decency and honour and integrity, and I can like myself because of that. Oh, let us continue with the wonderful story, Sinbad the Sailor. So yes, we were talking about cash actually. Upon this resolve, I took a great store of cash, and buying goods and gear fit for travel, bound them up in bales. Then I went down to the river bank, where I found a noble ship. Is there any kind of ship? I guess by noble they meant one and, kept well and good quality and not falling apart at the seams about to sink. It's probably what they mean by noble. And brand new, about to sail, I was right, equipped with sails of fine cloth, and well manned and provided. So I took passage in her with a number of other merchants. I don't know why, but my vision keeps blurring over. It means I'm still tired. And after embarking our goods, we weighed anchor the same day. Is my vision blurring, or is it that my glasses are dirty? Might come back and I'm just going to wash my glasses. Just going to move this book because Charlie, I'll take her with me. Don't trust her. Come, Charlie. I know you like chewing on things when Mum's not watching. Right, that's moderately better. So looking through grease pits, trying to figure out why I can't see properly. Right, here we go. Equipped with sails of fine cloth, the noble ship, and well manned and provided. So I took passage in her with a number of other merchants, and after embarking our goods, we weighed anchor the same day. Right fair was our voyage. It's a very English way of expressing that, isn't it? And we sailed from place to place and from isle to isle. And whenever we anchored, we met a crowd of merchants and notables and customers, and we took to buying and selling and bartering. At last, destiny brought us to an island, fair and verdant, and trees abundant, with yellow ripe fruits, luxuriant, and flowers fragrant. Sounds like Hawaii or Vanuatu or Fiji. Let's go, babies. But no sign of man showed to the descrier. No, not a blower of the fire. The captain made fast with us to this island, and the merchants and sailors landed and walked about, enjoying the shade of the trees and the song of the birds, Charlie, that chanted the praises of the one, the victorious, as birdies do, and marvelling at the works of the omnipotent King. I landed with the rest, and sitting down by a spring of sweet water that welled up among the trees, took out some vivers I had with me, and ate of that which Allah Almighty had allotted unto me. And so sweet was the zephyr, and so fragrant were the flowers, that presently I waxed drowsy, and lying in that place, was soon drowned in sleep. When I awoke, I found myself alone, for the ship had sailed and left me behind, nor had one of the merchants or sailors bethought himself of me. I seared the island right and left, but found neither man nor gin, whereat I was beyond measure troubled, and my gall was like to burst for stress of chagrin and anguish and concern, because I was left quite alone, without aught of worldly gear, or meat, or drink, weary and heartbroken. So I gave myself up for lost, and said, not always doth the crock escape the shock. I was saved the first time by finding one who brought me from the desert island to an inhabited place. But now there is no hope for me. Then I fell to weeping and wailing, and gave myself up to an access of rage, blaming myself for having again ventured upon the perils and hardships of voyage, when as I was at my ease in mine own house, in mine own land, taking my pleasure with good meat and good drink and good clothes, and lacking nothing, neither money nor goods. But he's never satisfied. He's got a restless spirit. He's a nomad. He's a kind of a gypsy. He's a wanderer. He's a traveller man. He's a fool and a clown, but ready for adventure. There's nothing wrong with that. It's that he keeps getting stuck on desert islands that's the problem. And I repented me of having left Baghdad. And this the more after the travails and dangers I had undergone in my first voyage, wherein I had so narrowly escaped destruction, and exclaimed, verily we are Allah's, and unto him we are returning. Well, it's true, isn't it? Well, some of us go up to whatever name you want to give the source field energy. I was indeed even as one mad and gin-struck, and presently I rose and walked about the island, right and left, and every whither, unable for trouble to sit or tarry in any one place. So he was in great stress and anxiety, my people of earth. Then I climbed a tall tree and looked at all directions, but saw nothing save sky and sea and trees and birds and isles and sands. However, after a while, my eager glances fell upon some great white thing afar off in the interior of the island. So I came down from the tree and made for that which I had seen. And behold, it was a huge white dome rising high in air and of vast compass. I walked all around it, but found no door thereto, nor could I muster strength or nimbleness by reason of its exceeding smoothness and slipperiness. So I marked the spot where I stood, and went round about the dome to measure its circumference, which I found 50 good paces. And as I stood, casting about how to gain an entrance, the day being near its fall and the sun being near the horizon, behold, the sun was suddenly hidden from me, and the air became dull and dark. Methought a cloud had come over the sun, but it was the season of summer. So I marvelled at this, and lifting my head, looked steadfastly at the sky, when I saw that the cloud was none other than an enormous bird of gigantic girth and inordinately wide of wing, which, as it flew through the air, veiled the sun and hid it from the island. At this sight, my wonder redoubled, and I remembered a story I had heard aforetime of pilgrims and travellers, how in a certain island dwelleth a huge bird called the ruch, which feedeth its young on elephants. And I was certified that the dome which caught my sight was none other than a ruch's egg. As I looked and wondered at the marvellous works of the Almighty, the bird alighted on the dome and brooded over it with its wings covering it and its legs stretched out behind it on the ground. And in this posture it fell asleep. Glory be to him who sleepeth not. When I saw this, I arose, and unwinding my turban from my head, doubled it and twisted it into a rope, with which I girt my middle and bound my waist fast to the legs of the ruch, saying in myself, peradventure, this bird may carry me to a land of cities and inhabitants, and that will be better than abiding in this desert island. Charlie took great umbrage at that. She went, meh, 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 meh. I'm not going to tie myself to your feet, because you're a tiny little bird, and our proportions are infinitely opposite. She probably heard me say the word bird, and she knows that she's a bird, don't you? Bird means Charlie bird. Rainbow lorikeet bird. Yes, that's what you are. You is a bird, Mama is a human, and it's all a little bit weird sometimes. I know. I passed the night watching and fearing to sleep, lest the bird should fly away with me unawares, and as soon as the dawn broke and morn shone, the rook rose off its egg and, spreading its wings with a great cry, flew up into the air, dragging me with it, nor ceased it to soar and to tower till I thought it had reached the limit of the firmament, after which it descended earthwards, little by little, till it lighted on the top of a high hill. As soon as I found myself on the hard ground, I made haste to unbind myself, quaking for fear of the bird, though it took no heed of me, nor even felt me, and loosing my turban from its feet, I made off with my best speed. Presently I saw it catch up in its huge claws something from the earth, and rise with it high in air, and observing it narrowly, I saw it to be a serpent, big of bulk and gigantic of girth, wherewith it flew away, clean out of sight. I marvelled at this, and, faring forwards, found myself on a peak overlooking a valley, exceeding great and wide and deep, and bounded by vast mountains that spired high in air. None could descry their summits for the excess of their height, nor was any able to climb up thereto. When I saw this, I blamed myself for what I had done, and said, would heaven I had tarried in the island, it was better than this wild desert, for there I had at least fruits to eat and water to drink, and here are neither trees, nor fruits, nor streams. But there is no majesty, and there is no might, save in Allah, the glorious, the great. Verily, as often as I am quit of one peril, I fall into a worse danger and a more grievous. However, I took courage, and walking along the wadi found that its soil was of diamond. The stone wherewith they pierce minerals and precious stones and porcelain and the onyx, for that it is a dense stone and a dewar, whereupon neither iron nor hard head hath effect, neither can we cut off aught therefrom nor break it, save by means of leadstone. Moreover, the valley swarmed with snakes and vipers, each big as a palm tree. Oh look, that would be a little bit too much even for me. It took me 4 days to get used to Sybil, and even then I was in kind of a heightened state of excitement and anxiety because, didn't know that she was going to be a very nice flatmate, very placid and gentle indeed. So I was a bit on high alert the whole time, waiting for this giant snake to attack me, but she did not. But if she was as big as a palm tree, bejesus. Well, actually, she was nearly as long as a palm tree, I guess. No, that's an exaggeration. She was only about, 3 metres long. But still, the thought of it, having gigantic snakes swarming all over the place. Ooh! That would have made but one gulp of an elephant, and they came out by night, hiding during the day, lest the rooks and eagles pounce on them and tear them to pieces, as was their wont. Why, I wot not. And I repented of what I had done, and said, By Allah, I have made haste to bring destruction upon myself. The day began to wane as I went along, and I looked about for a place where I might pass the night, being in fear of the serpents. And I took no thought of meat and drink in my concern for my life. Presently I caught sight of a cave near hand with a narrow doorway. So I entered, and seeing a great stone close to the mouth, I rolled it up and stopped the entrance, saying to myself, I am safe here for the night, and as soon as it is day, I will go forth and see what destiny will do. Then I looked within the cave and saw to the upper end a great serpent brooding on her eggs. At which my flesh quaked and my hair stood on end. But I raised my eyes to heaven, and, committing my case to fate and lot, abode all that night without sleep till daybreak, when I rolled back the stone from the mouth of the cave and went forth, staggering like a drunken man, and giddy with watching and fear and hunger. As in this sore case, I walked along the valley. Behold, there down before me a slaughtered beast, but I saw none. Whereat I marvelled with great marvel, and presently remembered a story I had heard aforetime of traders and pilgrims and travellers, how the mountains where are the diamonds are full of perils and terrors, nor can any fare through them, but the merchants who traffic in diamonds have a device by which they obtain them. That is to say, they take a sheep and slaughter and skin it and cut it in pieces, and cast them down from the mountain tops into the valley's soul, where the meat being fresh and sticky with blood, some of the gems cleave to it. Remember, it's a fairy story. Suspend belief, people of earth. There they leave till midday, when the eagles and vultures swoop down upon it and carry it in their claws to the mountain summits, whereupon the merchants come and shout at them, scare them away from the meat. Then they come and, taking the diamonds, which they find sticking to it, go their ways with them, and leave the meat to the birds and beasts, nor can any come at the diamonds but by this device. So, when I saw the slaughtered beast fall, he pursued, and bethought me of the story. I went up to it and filled my pockets and shawl girdle and turband, and the folds of my clothes with the choicest diamonds. And, as I was thus engaged, down fell before me another great piece of meat. Then, with my unrolled turband and lying on my back, I set the bit on my breast so that I was hidden by the meat, which was thus raised above the ground. Hardly had I gripped it when an eagle swooped down upon the flesh and seizing it with its talons, flew up with it, high in air, and me clinging thereto, and ceased not its flight till it alighted on the head of one of the mountains, where, dropping the carcass, he fell to rending it. But behold, there arose behind him a great noise of shouting and clattering of wood, whereat the bird took fright and flew away. Charlie's shadow boxing with my hand, and it's actually quite comical. She's using one of her talons and holding onto the laptop with the other and going for it, babies. You're very mischievous today, Miss Charlie. Told you today was going to be a happy day. Even the birdie's in a good mood. Then I loosed off myself the meat, with clothes daubed with blood therefrom, and stood by its side, whereupon up came the merchant, who had cried out at the eagle, and seeing me standing there, bespoke me not, but was affrighted at me and shook with fear. However, he went up to the carcass and, turning it over, found no diamonds sticking to it, whereat he gave a great cry and exclaimed, "Harrow my disappointment! There is no majesty and there is no might save in Allah, with whom we seek refuge from Satan the stoned." I don't think they mean stoned in the modern parlance version of that, by the way, although it's possible being Satan and all, but anyway, I think they mean stoned as in the old ancient biblical way of punishing sinners was to stone them to death. I think that's what they mean, but I could be wrong. Oh, what fun. And he bemoaned himself, and bet hand upon hand, saying, "Alas, the pity of it! How cometh this?" Then I went up to him, and he said to me, "Who art thou, and what causeth thee to come hither?" And I, "Fear not, I am a man and a good man and a merchant. My story is a wondrous, and my adventures marvellous, and the manner of my coming hither is prodigious. So be of good cheer, thou shalt receive of me what shall rejoice thee. For I have with me great plenty of diamonds, and I will give thee thereof what shall suffice thee, for each is better than aught thou couldst get otherwise. So fear nothing." Isn't he sweet? He really is a sweetheart. I could contemplate marrying such a man, me, who doesn't believe in the institution of marriage, since it brought me no joy the first and only time. But, intellectually speaking, such a sweet man is worthy of binding him into some kind of awful legal contract from which there is no escape but slathering, salacious, evil fucking lawyers. So no, we'll reframe that. I could cohabit happily with such a man. Yes, let's put it much more salubriously. Here's a picture of what is it actually a picture of? Let me look at it properly. He's looking up at the other man who's looking down. And he's standing on the edge of a pond. There's frogs leaping out of it. But anyway, it's the merchant. He was affrighted at me and shook with fear. So that's how they encountered each other. He's meant to be dripping in blood, but they haven't put any I mean, that picture doesn't actually describe that part of the story at all, but hey, we'll just go with it. It's all good, people there. Suspend belief. The man rejoiced thereat and thanked and blessed me about him being willing to give him plenty of his diamonds. It's a very sweet thing to do. I should be so lucky. So a man should bestow diamonds upon me again, but that would come with a soul contract that might not be so salubrious. So I shall buy my own diamonds, people of earth. Where will I get the money from? What does it even matter? Who needs diamonds anyway? I've got a lovely diamond nose ring. That's the only diamond I have left. I sold my diamond engagement ring that I wore for 32 years, long after the separation and divorce, actually. It was a lovely ring. My father-in-law bought it for me. That's the truth. And when I sold it, I got very little money for it, and I cried and I cried. I cried for a day. It was also symbolic of finally letting go of that entire history, and symbolic of that last connection, I suppose, to my father-in-law, who was a very kind man, paid off not one but 2 houses so I could have children. Very kind man, very future-thinking man he was, and a true family man, because he thought about children that he didn't even know would be born, because, you know, I could have been infertile for argument's sake. He was a very, very sweet man. So when you weigh things up in the balance, the monsters in the forms of men that came into my life, there were a few rare and precious, sweet ones, which is why I delight in my sweet men. You know who you are. There's a few of them in my life now, all very sweet and loving and kind and platonic. And I'm grateful for you, because I have experienced the worst kinds of men. So I know when things can and will be sweet, and that sweetness needs to be maintained, no matter what, no matter who. Never lose your sweet heart, my beautiful ones, because that is the most precious jewel, more precious than all the diamonds in all the cosmos. There's a planet or a moon, I think, that rains diamonds, so they claim. More precious even than that. Diamonds are forever, but they don't keep you warm at night, babies. And yes, my Charlie. I might repeat that because I don't know what happened there, but I feel like I've lost part of that sentence. The man rejoiced thereat, him offering him the diamonds, and thanked and blessed me. Then we talked together till the other merchants, hearing me in discourse with their fellow, came up and saluted me, for each had thrown down his piece of meat. And as I went off with them, I told them my whole story, how I had suffered hardships at sea, and the fashion of my reaching the valley. But I gave the owner of the meat a number of the stones I had by me. So they all wished me joy of my escape, saying, by Allah, a new life hath been decreed to thee, for none ever reached yonder valley and came off thence alive before thee, but praised be Allah for thy safety. We passed the night together in a safe and pleasant place. Beyond measure rejoiced at my deliverance from the valley of serpents, and my arrival in an inhabited land. And on the morrow we set out and journeyed over the mighty range of mountains, seeing many serpents in the valley, till we came to a fair great island, wherein was a garden of huge camphor trees, under each of which 100 men might take shelter. When the folk have a mind to get camphor, they bore into the upper part of the bowl with a long iron, whereupon the liquid camphor, which is the sap of the tree, floweth out, and they catch it in vessels, where it concreteth like gum. But after this the tree dieth, and becometh firewood. Moreover, there is in this island a kind of wild beast called rhinoceros, that pastureth as do steers and buffaloes with us. But it is a huge brute, bigger of body than the camel, and like it feedeth upon the leaves and twigs of trees. It is a remarkable animal with a great and thick horn, 10 cubits long, a middleward its head, wherein, when cleft in twain, is the likeness of a man. What? Voyagers and pilgrims and travellers declare that this beast called Kakadan will carry off a great elephant on its horn, and graze about the island and the sea coast therewith, and take no heed of it, till the elephant dieth, and its fat, melting in the sun, runneth down into the rhinoceros's eyes, and blindeth him, so that he lieth down on the shore. What? Suspend belief, suspend belief. Then comes the bird Ruch, and carrieth off with both the rhinoceros's eyes, and blindeth him. Oh, that's just not nice, is it? So that he lieth down on the shore. Then comes the bird Ruch, and carried off both the rhinoceros and that which is on its horn, to feed its young withal. Moreover, I saw in this island many kinds of oxen and buffaloes, whose like are not found in our country. Here I sold some of the diamonds which I had by me for gold dinars and silver dirhams, and bartered others for the produce of the country, and loading them upon beasts of burden, fared on with the merchants from valley to valley and town to town, buying and selling and viewing foreign countries and the works and creatures of Allah, till we came to Basora city, where we abode a few days, after which I continued my journey to Baghdad. I foregathered with my friends and relations, and gave alms and largesse, and bestowed curious gifts, and made presents to all my friends and companions. Then I betook myself to eating well and drinking well and wearing fine clothes and making merry with my fellows, and forgot all my sufferings in the pleasures of return to the solace and delight of life, with light heart and broadened breast. And every one who heard of my return came and questioned me of my adventures and of foreign countries, and I related to them all that had befallen me, and the much I had suffered, whereat they wondered
and gave me joy of my safe return. This, then, is the end of the story of my second voyage, and tomorrow, inshallah, I will tell you what befell me in my third voyage. The company marvelled at his story and supped with him, after which he ordered 100 dinars of gold to be given to the porter, who took the sum with many thanks and blessings, which he stinted not even when he reached home, and went his way, wondering at what he had heard. Next morning, as soon as day came in its sheen and shone, he rose, and praying the dawn prayer, which means round about 4 a.m., repaired to the house of Sinbad the Sailor, and went in and gave him good morrow. The merchant welcomed him, and made him sit with him till the rest of the company arrived, and when they had well eaten and drunken, and were merry, their host began by saying, "Hearken, O my brothers, to what I am about to tell you, for it is even more wondrous than what you have already heard. But Allah alone kenneth what things his omniscience concealed from man. And listen to the third voyage of Sinbad the Sailor." I'm going to continue to read this next part of the story, but I'm just going to go and grab some water because my throat's drier. But I think since I segued so much, we're an hour and 6 minutes in, but half an hour that was me going on about my family histories and weird fucked up memories and stories. So in service to you, oh my YouTube subscribers and people who stumble upon these stories, I'll continue on with Sinbad the Sailor, hopefully without too many more segues. And but I just need a drink. I'll be back. Charlie, come with me, because otherwise you'll chew the book. That's right. Chewy bookie girl. Oh, and food down my back. Oh, that's nice. And you're ripping out all your feathers again, little miss. Look at this. Naughtiness. 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 There's another one. You've been busy while Mama was distracted reading stories. Oh dear goddess. Right. You ready, Charlie? You're going to continue reading the stories? Going to give me a kissy kissy? I need a kissy. Stingy bird. She loves me though. She loves me. We started this video, she was trying to kiss me, so I was pulling her face away because I've got all the skin peeling on my lips because I badly burnt my lip the other day, and then it turned to a cold sore, and I don't know whether it was a burn or a cold sore to begin with, but it wasn't pleasant. But still kind of patching that up. Dear goddess. Anyway, the life of the Tanya. There's always something goes wrong with me. Always. He was unlucky as Sinbad the Sailor, but wait a minute. He had diamonds to give away. He keeps landing on his feet, that one. So maybe I'm less fortunate than he, but it's all a mindset.
I am blessed and truly greatly loved in a mutually exclusive love partnership with a beautiful man who adores me. I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am happy. Reprogram, reprogram, reprogram. When all fails, mush the negativity right on out of me, babies. Oh, my neck was a bit sore last night. I didn't do the 360 degree mosh, but it's still not happy, So I may have to even pull back on, the to and froing washing as well, which I'm not happy about. What can one do? I have to express my exuberant vitality in other ways. Wonder what that might be. No, I'm not going to become my mother. No. The one and only the one shall gain access to the secret garden of delights. Whatever. Who's telling the story? I don't know, I just made that up as I went along. But I'm trying to manifest that, people of Earth. I don't actually want to be alone for the rest of my life, but on the other hand, I'm not desperate and I'm not going to settle for just any weird ass motherfucking trickster, false feckless personage like I had 10 years ago. Yuck. Anyway, the third voyage of Sinbad the Sailor. Charlie, you're climbing all over my back, Charlie. Just find a perch and stick to it. You've got birdie ADHD today. You're all over the place. It's going to rain, isn't it? That's what's going on. It's probably going to rain. Or there'll be storms. When there's storms, Mama T and the birdie go all over the place. Yes. Right, here we go, babies. As I told you yesterday, I returned from my second voyage, overjoyed at my safety and with great increase of wealth. Way to go, Sinbad. Allah having requited me all that I had wasted and lost. Praise be to the Holy One in all manifestations. And I abode a while in Baghdad city, savouring the utmost ease and prosperity and comfort and happiness, till the carnal man was once more seized with longing for travel and diversion and adventure. He has difficulty being bored, I can tell. I get it. And yearned after traffic and lucre and emolument, for that the human heart is naturally prone to evil. So making up my mind, I laid in great plenty of goods suitable for a sea voyage, and repairing to Bassorah, went down to the shore and found there a fine ship ready to sail, with a full crew and a numerous company of merchants, men of worth and substance, faith, piety, and consideration. Worthy compatriots to go on a sea voyage with, like my mother and my newfound stepfather. Oh, well, I ran rogue over that ship. I was never seen. I was here, there, and everywhere. Scaramouche to the fandango. I must admit, I spent all my time in the ship's swimming pool, avoiding my parental units and the wannabe parental unit. He was a pest, even then. Ugh. My mother, she terrible taste in me. Terrible taste. By the gods. Anyway, what can I say? The desserts on the ship were wonderful though. Every meal was most fabulous dessert. I lived for the desserts. It's true. That's why I'm fat to this day. Never mind. I'll never be a supermodel. And I made peace with that 30 years ago or so, even more. 40. How old am I now? Yeah, about 45 years ago I made peace with that. But anyway, supermodels don't necessarily have a very nice time of it either, just say. By the gods. I embarked with him, and we set sail on the blessing of Allah Almighty and on His aidance and His favour, to bring our voyage to a safe and prosperous issue, and already we congratulated one another on our good fortune and boon voyage. We fared on from sea to sea, and from island to island, and city to city, in all delight and contentment. If I had money, I'd be doing that again, actually, but on my terms, not, picking up predating pedophiles like my mother did to me. Bastard. Buying and selling wherever we touched, and taking our solace and our pleasure, till one day when, as we sailed athwart the dashing sea, swollen with clashing billows, behold the master, who stood on the gunwale examining the ocean in all directions, cried out with a great cry, and buffeted his face, and plucked out his beard, and rent his raiment, and bade furl the sail, and cast the anchors. So we said to him, O Reis, what is the matter? Know, O my brethren, Allah preserve you, that the wind has gotten the better of us, and hath driven us out of our course into mid-ocean, and destiny for our ill luck hath brought us to the mountain of the Zug, I can't pronounce it, Zughb, Zughb. Sorry, Arabic speakers, I can't pronounce that word. I tried several times. A hairy folk like apes, among whom no man ever fell, and came forth alive. And my heart presageth that we all be dead men. Hardly had the master made an end of his speech, when the apes were upon us. Hello? Look at this little demon bird. Look, don't you dare. Look what she just did. She fought me for it too. Well, it is actually her feather. Plucked out another one. Well, you've been busy, haven't you? Now she's playing with it. It's her feather. She gets to do what she wants with it, I guess. She's already sort of thrown it down again. You're determined to be a naked bald bird, aren't you, Charlie? Yes, you are. You want to revert to your baby state when you were featherless and vulnerable and possibly still sweet. By the gods. The apes surrounded the ship on all sides, swarming like locusts and crowding the shore. They were the most frightful of wild creatures, covered with black hair like felt, foul of favour, and small of stature, being but 4 spans high, yellow-eyed and black-faced. None knoweth their language nor what they are, and they shun the company of men. We feared to slay them or strike them or drive them away, because of their inconceivable multitude.
lest, if we hurt one, the rest fall on us and slay us, for numbers prevail over courage. So we let them do their will, albeit we feared they would plunder our goods and gear. They swarmed up the cables and gnawed them asunder, and on likewise they did with all the ropes of the ship, so that it fell from the wind and stranded upon their mountainous coast. Then they laid hands on all the merchants and crew, and landing us on the island, made off with the ship and its cargo, and went their ways, we wot not whither, which means we don't know where. They were, you have to laugh. Anyway, we were thus left on the island, eating of its fruit and pot herbs, and drinking of its streams, till one day we espied in its midst what seemed an inhabited house. So we made for it as fast as our feet could carry us, and behold, it was a castle, strong and tall, compassed about with a lofty wall, and having a 2-leaved gate of ebony wood, which of both leaves open stood. I love ebony. I bought some wood and made beads with it. It's a lovely timber. And when you're grinding it or cutting it, it's very, very fine and oily kind of texture. It's lovely. Do you want to see the ebony earrings I made? I'll show you. You've probably seen me wearing them. I know, it's a segue, I know. Every time I have a segue, someone should take a shot, tequila or something. Oh, what state would you be in at the end of that people of it? But yes, and I inlaid into the ebony New Zealand power shell, which is very sentimental to me from my own country of birth, of origin. And can you even see it? I love them. I'm wearing these today. And these, I made these bigger, chunkier ones. And now my battery's running low. But anyway, can you see them? Let me just get rid of that. I don't know where that interferes. Let's just get rid of that message. It's annoying me. Yeah, so I hand carved them, because I don't have a bandsaw. So I hand cut them with my Dremel, and they're a bit rustic and a bit rough, but they were my first attempts actually. I couldn't make them into round beads. I tried, but they kept exploding because ebony is a very soft timber. Anyway, that's my ebony for you. And I just thought I'd show that to you whether you're interested or not. You have the power of the turning me off button or the fast forward button, whichever is your want. So a 2-leaved gate of ebony. Ebony is very expensive timber, so it's a whole 2-leaved gate made out of ebony would have cost a small fortune even in those days. We entered and found within a space wide and bare, like a great square, round which stood many high doors open throw, and at the farther end a long bench of stone and braziers with cooking gear hanging thereon, and about it great plenty of bones, but we saw no one and marvelled thereat with exceeding wonder.
Then we sat down in the courtyard a little while, and presently falling asleep, slept from the forenoon till sundown, when lo, the earth trembled under our feet, and the air rumbled with a terrible tone. Then there came upon us, all right, Spirit, all right, I'll tell them how it came to be that I bought ebony. But they already know, it's in other videos. All right, I'll tell them. All right, calm your farm. Let me just finish this paragraph. By the gods. Then there came down upon us, from the top of the castle, a huge creature in the likeness of a man, black of colour, tall and big of bulk, as we were a great date tree, with eyes like coals of fire, and eye teeth like boar's tusks, and a vast big gape like the mouth of a well. Moreover, he had long loose lips like camels hanging down upon his breast, and ears like two jams falling over his shoulder blades. And the nails of his hands were like the claws of a lion. When we saw this frightful giant, we were like to faint, and every moment increased our fear and terror, and we became as dead men, for excess of horror and affright. So my spirit personage, I don't know who they are, they didn't give me their name, but it's probably one of my guides, is insistent on me telling you how I came to buy the ebony wood to make beads. And it was around about, was it 2020 or 2021? I think it was, I started this silversmithing journey in very early 2020. So 4 years now. Or was it 2021? I think it was 2021. I can't remember now. I'll have to go through my journals. But anyway, round about 2021, my mediumship capabilities suddenly exploded. Must have been 2020, because that's when I had the visitation from my Māori cousin's chief and his wife, chief and the chieftain's wife, Te Hui Hui Ngā and Parata, came to me and started talking to me in archaic Māori, which I don't speak. I don't speak Māori law except for a few words. So that was astonishing. So that's when I realised I was hearing voices that weren't imaginary voices, but were spirit voices. And I contacted my cousin Megan, and we got confirmation of who they were immediately. She said, that's my great-grandparents. So that was very mind-blowing. And then I was immersed in this, trying to teach myself silversmithing. But initially I started with flatware, with cutlery. I still buy things. You saw, posted a video showing a fork that I turned into a beautiful ring.